What's happening, everyone? It's Dirk here, and I wanted to give a recap video of the Southington, Ohio Vortex Challenge, as I'm calling it, but also known as the Vortex Pro Series Qualifier. 2 days worth of shooting, 200 rounds if you're fast enough, in 20 different stages. Had a real fun time, did fantastic compared to last time. My first PRS match ever. I scored 8 points out of 100. The second, which is this one, I scored 92 out of 200, which means 92 hits on target compared to 8. I want to give a special thanks to Vortex for sponsoring this event, as well as Matt Steiner for putting this whole event together. Guys like you really make this sport, and so do all the competitors that come in, because every one of these guys would have no problem helping any of us out. I'm going to go through all these stages, and I'm going to put a long video out here of the ones that I managed to record. I'm sorry if I didn't get all of them, but unfortunately, in the heat of the moment, a lot of times I just forgot to hit the record button. I was too busy actually, shooting. First stage was called Dialing for Days. Ended up being our 1,000-yard stage. So the second target we had to engage was at 1,003 yards. I scored 4 points, I do believe, on that stage. Ended up, 2 of my hits were at the 1,000-yard mark, which I had never hit at 1,000 before. So that was really freaking awesome. This stage was a dial stage. So first target was a 33% IPSC silhouette at 425 yards. Then you had to go out to 1,003 yards, engage that target. Each of these targets you have to engage twice. Then your next target is at 545 yards, then 938 yards, followed by a 701-yard shot and an 842-yard shot. A lot of guys racked up points on this stage because it was just a proned out stage, just going back and forth on target. All of these stages were 105 seconds, or what, 1 minute 45 seconds if you cannot count. Double down on the roof. This was actually my best stage of the entire event. I ended up getting 8 shots out of a possible 12. On the command, shooter will move to their strong side of the roof, both feet on the ground with rifle supported by the roof. They will insert magazine. This is a key point that screwed a lot of guys up, including myself. A new safety brief for PRS we decided to start doing is, instead of just the bolt back and the magazine inserted, we will insert the magazine once we are on target. This is for safety reasons, and I really like it, but it does chew up a lot of time. Once they insert their magazine, engage 4 targets from left to right, far to near. We have 2 8-inch squares at 398 yards, and then a 12-inch and 10-inch square at 538 yards. I managed to go 8 for 8 on all of my shots. Once you engage those 4 targets, you move onto the center of the roof. Your entire body must be on the roof. Engage those same 4 shots, and then weak side of the roof with your feet on, both feet on the ground, engaging with weak eye, weak shoulder, weak hand. Like I said, I ended up getting 8 out of 8 for what I was able to shoot, which that was really awesome. Big thanks to Rex as the RO. He did a great job calling out shots. I could actually hear him, which a lot of people don't realize. When your ear pro is getting low on battery, it starts to become very difficult to hear the RO's call. So make sure you make those calls nice and loud. Stage 3s, the tubes. Shooter will start with all gear in hand. On command, the shooter will move into position, insert magazine, engage 2 targets with 1 round each from each of the 5 positions on the tubes. Hit or miss, they move to the next position after 2 shots. Shooter can shoot these targets in any order. This was a 10-inch circle and diamond at 481 yards. Again, I think I racked up, I want to say 4 points on that stage. Wasn't one of the better stages for me, but oh well. The Rexicade. This is your typical goofy barricade stage for PRS. Rexicade made by Mr. Rex himself. On the command, shooter will move into position on the Rexicade. Insert magazine and engage targets with 2 rounds each, near to far. Hit or miss, the shooter will move to the next position after 2 rounds. Shooter can shoot in any of the taped positions on the Rexicade. So we had multiple areas where you could move inside and outside the target. Those ranges were 289 yards, 397 yards, 497 yards, 572 yards, and 691 yards. I think I got, I want to say 4 again. Keep in mind, guys, most of the stages I hit anywhere minimum 2 hits up to 7-8 hits, just because I'd run out of time. I'm slow. So next stage, which was a really cool stage. I wish I had it filmed. It's called Big Spool, Little Spool. It's a no dial stage. So on the command, shooter will move into position, engage targets from near to far with 1 round each. Hit or miss, shooter will move to the next position. If the shooter adjusts their optic in any manner, including your parallax or your zoom, the stage will stop. No further points will be awarded. So once you touch that scope, that's it. Positions being right center of the spool, steel bar, top right of the small spool center, and top left of the small spool. The targets were a 14-inch square at 597 yards and a 16-inch square at 662 yards. A lot of guys got dinged on this. Keep in mind, I understand once the buzzer hits, all things go out the window, but you have to listen to the rules. Stage 6, which is one of my favorite stages, just because I like shooting on rocks for some weird reason. I don't know if it's the Norse in me or what. But on the command, shooter will move to all 5 positions that were marked on the rock. So you'd have 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 painted on the rocks. You would engage the targets in order from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you continually move down. Each target, 2 rounds each, and this was from far to near. So the first target was at 706 yards, managed to rock that, no problem. 648 yards was target 2, which I could not get into a comfortable position because it was in a really low spot in the rocks. It was only like 1.5 feet off the ground. I couldn't get low enough. It was just uncomfortable. Spot number 3, 514 yards, managed to nail 1 hit on there. And then circle 2 is 384 yards. I do believe I hit that once as well. And then a circle at 282 yards. Stage 7, Blueberry Wall. This absolutely had to have been my worst stage. Mainly because the range marker said 300 yards on the paperwork. Mr. Steiner later came around and said, hey, paperwork's wrong. We will let you reshoot it if you want. I ended up initially getting a score of 2 rounds, which that hurt. So I decided to take him up on that offer. I ended up shooting for 3 points. Just a rough target. This was similar to the Rexicade, where you had a railroad tie wall built up, and there's different shooting positions on there. You had a tiny 8-inch square at 300 yards, and then a 33% IPSC at 436 yards. Screwed up again by reading the paperwork. It was actually at 330 yards, which made a lot of guys miss. That and the very, 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 very pretty range officers. The shooters will engage from far to near with 1 shot each in all 5 positions. It was a very, very difficult stage for a lot of guys, including myself. Stage 8, Mound of Misshaped Shit. This was on a slight incline of a side of a hill where we had to get into position, and this was another near to far stage, but then we went far to near, so it was with 1 round hit each going out and then 1 round each going back. A lot of guys got hit on the vertical rectangle at 494 yards because they forgot you have to engage that twice and then come back. So a half hexagon at 255 yards, a horizontal rectangle at 300, a wind chime at 385, a wind chime. These are 4-inch wind chimes, by the way, at 444 yards, which I managed to hit somehow. It seems like the smaller the target or the further away it is, no problem. And a vertical rectangle at 494 yards. PRS Barricade skill stage. This is pretty much in almost every competition, if not every competition. I think that's why it's called a PRS skill stage, where you have to engage a target 10-inch circle at 400 yards, 2 rounds on each position. Score always matters over time, and that's a 90-second window. Tree hugger. Now this is one of the coolest ones to shoot. On the command, the shooter will move into position on the top pipe. Front of rifle must be supported by the pipe. Insert the magazine and engage each of the 3 IPSC targets 1 round each. And it was not an IPSC target, it was actually diamonds. But 1 round each from left to right. If the shooter misses, they must re-engage the target they missed before moving. Hit or miss after 3 shots, you move to the next position. There's 3 positions total, alternating on each side of the tree. These targets all were at 740 yards. A 20-inch diamond, 18-inch diamond, and 16-inch diamond. This was a very, very difficult stage. I managed to somehow score 4 points. Carl, that bastard, ended up scoring 1 more point than me on this stage. In fact, I've got video of him rocking it out with his AI. We had a lot of fun on that stage. It was a really unique one. After that, was day 1 was over. It was a fantastic time had by all. We were all tired. We were all hot. The range officers and the buggy patrol, as we called them, had a very busy day of getting water out to everyone. I really appreciate every single one of you guys for doing that. It's kudos to you guys. You could have been shooting today and you weren't. So day 2, tiny tables and post. This was a really cool stage because this again was at the longer range stage out to 1,000 yards, and you had a post and a table that you had to alternate between. When you did this, it was cool because especially the post kind of reminded me of if you were to hunt in Western PA. There's a lot of farmland, so it would be very, very common if you were to come up on a fence and to see a deer, you'd need to take a shot. So you'd put that rifle on that post and take your shot. So what you would have to do is, upon command, the shooter will move into position on the tiny table first, taking 2 shots. Hit or miss, the shooter will transition to the post and engage the next furthest target with 2 shots, alternating between. The closest target was 545, then 701, 842, 935, and 1003. I managed to get, I do believe, 5 points on that stage. So that was a decent stage for me. Piping, again, with the pretty range officers. Horrible stage for me. I only scored 2 points, but this was a stage where you had to go down through these pipes that were only about 4 or 5 inches higher from one another. You'd have to start at the highest point and work your way down, engaging a 12-inch and 10-inch circle at 538 yards from right to left, and then you would move down to the next target, right to left. Hit or miss, have to move. So that was another one. Like I said, two points. So stage 13, cattle gate. Really neat stage. If you don't know, cattle gate is a very, very common stage in PRS matches. Shooter on the command will move into position on the cattle gate and move from top down far too near hits on a 12-inch diamond at 480 yards and a 10-inch diamond at 398 yards. Stage 13, 2 times the traps. This was a tank trap stage. I'd never shot tank traps before. I can't really say that it wasn't steady. A lot of guys were having issues, but it was more the range. At this point of the day, it's 90 degrees out, and we have to hit a 14-inch square. If we hit that, we have to transition to a 12-inch square, both at 700 yards. But the problem is, one is, well, each target was almost, I want to say 150 to 200 yards away from each other. So you're constantly moving back and forth, real pain. And with the heat, they were just sailing those bullets overhead. We were having a big time issue getting impacts on the tank trap. Again, moving into 5 different positions. I've got video of that one. Looks really cool. Heavy equipment operators, stage 15. Another good stage for me. I had scored another 5 points. Shooter will, oh, by the way, last stage, the trap, I think I scored 2 points, which I would have taken that at that point. That was a bad stage for me. Heavy equipment parts. Shooter will start with all gear in hand. On command, shooter will move into position, insert magazine, and engage targets in specified order on all 5 positions, which were the left side tire, 3 positions in the forks of a forklift apparatus, and then on the right tire. This was another in and out stage where you went from a 289 yard target to a 691 yard target, back to a 397 yard target, to a 572 yard target, to a 497 yard target, constantly swapping back and forth. That was a pretty decent stage for me, and I had a lot of fun. Speaking of fun, one thing I like about Mr. Steiner whenever it comes to these types of stages, he does not allow you to deploy your tripod until you are on time on the clock, because his figuring is, and it's true, you don't have time to prep this stuff in the real world. You have to extend your legs and everything. You can't get everything pre-prepped. I really, really like that. And you know what? All the gamers got their ass handed to them because of that. I guarantee you, if they would have been able to use their tripods as rear supports and whatnot, there probably would have been a couple perfect scores, but there weren't because of that ruling. I think our highest score was 176 out of 200. Glamping stage. This ended up being my best stage, not because of how well I scored, but because of how much more I scored than everyone else. I ended up getting 14th out of 112 guys or something like that. This was an awesome stage. So this was a camping stage. You went inside this camper, and by the way, when you see the video, I know for a fact I broke that 120 degree mark. Unfortunately, it happens. I had my barrel pointed up into the sky. The magazine was completely out. The bolt was back. It was as safe of a gun as possible. So when you see that part of the video, I apologize. I'm usually Mr. Anal about handling of firearms and where the barrel's pointed, but if the gun has been completely unloaded until you got into position and ready to fire, I'm okay with that. Other people, not so much. This was another stage where you had to engage each target with 1 round. If you missed the first target, you had to re-engage. Once you shot 2 rounds, you had to move to the next position. This was a 14-inch diamond and a 12-inch diamond at 680 yards, 5 different positions. I rocked that shit. I got 7 out of 10, and that's 7 shots out of 7 shots. Didn't miss once. Even the best of the best guys were only getting, I think, 9. Not a single person cleaned that event. Treacherous Trailer. This is stage 17. This was a really cool one that I have a video of Carl shooting. And this was one of those positional stages where you had to be a thinking man, because you had a 12-inch and 10-inch circle at 550 yards. And you had 5 different positions, 4 around the trailer, and then 1 on the very top of it. Well, what none of us thought of until Carl started doing it was he worked from underneath the trailer on the prone position, then onto the hitch, then on the deck of the trailer, and then around the side, because it takes so much time to get up and then back down on the trailer. If the last shots you take are in the very top, you don't have to worry about that time getting back down. So really, really cool stage there. I then ended up, I think, getting 3 shots. Rock Shuffle. This was a really unique stage because you had 2 outside targets. They're all 12-inch hexagons, but 2 outside targets were 541 and 545 yards, and the center target was at 481 yards. So you had 1 close and 2 far outs, and you had to engage 1 shot per rock position. All 3 positions, there are 3 different rocks, so you'd have to hit in position 1, 2, 3. Then you had to go 3, 2, 1, and then 1, 2, 3. Problem with that is, once you got into position, if you got out of position, you weren't allowed to call anything on it, so those points didn't count. So if you went 1, 2, 3, 2, 1 instead of taking that second shot on position 3, you got out of order and that point didn't count. So you ended up screwing yourself. Another positional shooting stage where you had to get super low to the ground. I was having an issue with how tight my hamstrings are, but still, I think I managed. I think I got 3 hits, which was really good. Stage 19, 90-second mayhem. This was really cool. This was your typical running gun stage where you have all 10 rounds on a table. You had to run. What was it? I think it was a whopping 10 feet maybe. Grab your round, insert it in the gun, rack the bolt home. You were allowed to prep on this stage, which was cool. You had a cross at 332 yards. You had to engage it with 10 rounds. I ended up getting 8 out of 10. I did very well with that round. And then Critter Getter. This was the last stage, stage 20. Shooter will start with all gear in hand as always. Shooter will move into position on the painted portion of the log. Insert magazine, engage all targets near to far with 2 rounds each. A boar at 279 yards, and then coyotes from 645, 691, 726, and 775 yards. This was a neato stage because everyone was going high. We're not sure if they were just not used to the targets or if it was the heat of the day and the velocities increasing in our rounds, but I have a feeling those coyotes are only like that tall, which is why everyone was missing. I ended up putting my crosshair on a little bit, maybe 2 inches high on the belly. I still sailed over them for, I think, I got the boar twice, no problem. Got the first coyote twice. I got I do believe I missed 1 round, or if not both, on the 691 yard coyote, and then the other 2 coyotes I completely missed. Carl, I think, got 9 because he's a badass. Big thanks to PRS for putting this sport together. Also the sponsors, there's a crap load of them. Please check out PRS's website and join in the fun. Thank you again. Awesome job, Mr. Steiner. And guys, get out there and shoot. I want to say I could not do this a year and a half ago. I was so vastly overweight that I did not realize everything that I was missing out on. I didn't realize that I couldn't do certain things. I just fixed things in my mind that, I was going to just power through it. And the easiest way to fix issues is to address them head on. So, thank you very much for watching my videos. FYI, next month, in August, I'm going to be giving away 2 Magneto Speed barrel coolers. The Rifle Cool. Magneto Speed was really nice. They loved my video and they sent me some free barrel coolers. I got 3. My one buddy has one because he's my best friend and he's been helping me out big time with all this stuff. But please, if you like this video, like and subscribe and comment like crazy. I want like ridiculous grand thumb type bullshit in the comment section. So again, thank you very much. Peace out.